It was a Saturday afternoon, and I was helping my wife Megan with some chores around the house. Nothing unusual, just a quiet day. Until her phone buzzed with messages from her friends. I glanced over her shoulder, curious, when I saw her laughing quietly at the screen. "I married too early," she whispered to them in a group chat. I wasn't ready for all this. I froze. Those words were small, casual, almost playful, but they carried a weight that could crush. Married too early? After all we'd been through? After the sacrifices I'd made to give her the life she wanted? At first I tried to brush it off. Maybe she was joking. Maybe she didn't mean it like that. But then came the subtle digs, whispers to friends about my habits, my boring routines, the way I planned everything too carefully, as if I had a checklist for love. By evening, she was at a dinner with her friends, and I stayed home quietly letting her go, thinking she'd come back laughing like nothing happened. I was wrong. Very wrong. That night, when she returned, the tension in the air was unmistakable. She tried to act normal, like we were just another happy couple watching TV. But I'd spent the day thinking, observing, and making a plan. Because words once spoken can't be unsaid, but actions? Actions can rewrite everything. I started with small moves. Changing the locks on her study, quietly moving valuables, and updating a few security details around the house. Nothing dangerous, nothing illegal. Just enough to create boundaries she didn't expect. By the time she realized the changes, I was already a few steps ahead. Megan's friends had no idea the joke she had made would unravel so fast. Because some comments made in laughter are dangerous. Especially when the person you're talking about isn't laughing anymore. That night, Megan tried to test me. She walked in, smiling as if nothing had happened, and said casually, "So, did you see my message earlier today?" I looked at her calmly, sipping my coffee. I did. And I thought about it a lot. Her smile faltered slightly, but she tried to hide it. "Oh, you didn't take it seriously, right?" "I took it seriously enough," I replied. "Enough to realize that words have consequences, Megan. And actions, real tangible actions, have the power to back them up." She raised an eyebrow, sensing a shift but unsure where it was heading. "What are you talking about?" I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I waited, letting the tension build. That's the thing about strategy, the slower it unfolds, the more impact it has. By midnight, her social media accounts had been temporarily locked, and access to our shared finances had been restricted. Nothing permanent, nothing violent, just enough to make her realize that the security she thought she had was an illusion. She noticed first when she tried to log in to check her bank balance. "What the hell, Daniel?" she yelled, panic lacing her voice. "I told you," I said quietly. "Words have consequences. You joked about marrying too early, about regretting me, about our life. And now it's time to see how it feels when control slips from your hands." Her friends called, asking what happened, but she couldn't explain it. That night, she stayed awake pacing the house, realizing that she was no longer in charge of every detail of her life. By the time the sun rose, Megan understood that the casual words she had thrown into the world were dangerous. Every joke, every whisper, every comment, they had consequences. And I wasn't about to let a careless remark slide. She didn't sleep that night, and for the first time she experienced a sliver of the vulnerability I had felt whenever she dismissed my feelings. The same feeling she had ignored while laughing with her friends, saying she married too early. By the next evening, Megan's panic reached its peak. She tried negotiating, pleading, even threatening to call her friends over to fix whatever she thought I was doing. But I didn't budge. The house felt calm, controlled, a stark contrast to her rising chaos. She came into the living room, her voice trembling. "Daniel, please, this isn't funny. Give me back access, at least temporarily." I leaned back in my chair, maintaining that calm I had cultivated over weeks of frustration and observation. "You gave up your right to normalcy the moment you decided to belittle our life. You said you married too early. You told your friends our life was a mistake. Now it's your turn to feel uncertainty. Your turn to understand the weight of words." Her eyes widened and she took a step back. I saw the fear settle in. Not the kind that disappears with a simple apology, but the kind that makes someone confront the reality of their own recklessness. By midnight, her phone and social accounts were under my control. The cards she relied on for convenience were inaccessible. She tried to argue, tried to make me feel guilty, tried to laugh it off as a joke, but each attempt only reminded her of her vulnerability. She was learning what it meant to have her comfort stripped away, to have her laughter replaced with accountability. Her friends called endlessly, but Megan could no longer answer without my permission. She realized she had no allies, no backdoors, no escape. The joke she had made earlier in the day had become a lesson. A stark, unforgettable one. And by nightfall, she sat in the living room exhausted, pale and quiet. No more jokes, no more smug remarks. No more casual dismissals of the life we built together. She looked at me and whispered, almost too softly to hear. I understand now. That night, Megan learned something crucial. Words spoken lightly can break trust, and trust once broken can be reclaimed only when the person who caused the damage faces the consequences. I hadn't shouted, I hadn't begged, I hadn't forced anything. I simply let her live the discomfort she had handed out so carelessly. By the time the night ended, she was, in effect, single again. Not legally, but emotionally and mentally stripped of the control she had taken for granted. And in that quiet reckoning, she understood the truth. Some lessons don't need arguments or drama. They only need the patience to let someone face the weight of their own actions.